think people are constantly living for their end goals or in relation to where they think they'll end up. And my whole idea is, you don't have to know where you're going to love where you are. You don't have to know the end. You don't have to know the answer in order to appreciate the journey. I feel like a lot of life shouldn't be spent in reference to the future because most of the time when we're left to our own devices, when we're referencing the future, it's only in reference to the past. If all you're doing to construct your future is reference the past, and all you're gonna do is recreate it, we have to realize that any real change has to happen in the moment. It has to happen in the present, and it can't come from a place of negativity. It can't come from a place of hate. It has to come from a place of love, a place of appreciation, a place of gratitude. If you constantly feel like you lack, if you're constantly getting on yourself about stuff that you can't have, then you're gonna constantly bring in stuff that you don't have. Like attracts lack. If you constantly thinking of places where you're void, things that you do not possess, then you're only gonna notice more things you don't possess. But if you switch that mindset, switch that frame to gratitude, being appreciative of everything, then you'll only find more and more reasons to be appreciative. And by that, you become a more appreciative person. You become a person that, exists within your own appreciation, exists within your own gratitude. And you can traverse the world in a way that's more befitting of yourself, in my opinion. Life is too short to be spent constantly in reference to something fleeting. I feel like we do that with a lot of things like our comparison, things like our goals and aspirations. Not to say people shouldn't have goals or aspirations, but the most realistic of goals, people who actually go to achieve things, it's not like they constantly are thinking about the future. They're constantly thinking about the present. They're constantly in the present building their future, because the future is every moment. The past is every moment. Everything is all at once. And we have to realize that, we can't drag ourselves down by constantly looking in a place where we are not. It's one thing to visualize. It's one thing to think, oh, I want to do this. Oh, that might be cool. And you imagine it. That's one thing. But if we're constantly referencing our own self-worth, referencing our own value of self and ideas in a place that's not yet here, then it's going to feel like something we can never attain. We're constantly putting it away from us. We're separating ourselves from the goal. And I feel like that's one of the most important things that we should not do. I feel like the whole dichotomy that's set up between us and our aspirations sort of makes them unattainable at times. Makes it harder to do. This whole concept of time, this whole idea that, oh, if we do this and we wait, then this will come. And that's not to say don't be patient. But patience isn't the only thing that you need to do in order to achieve your goal. You also need to take action. You need to be patient with yourself. You need to be present with your situation. The more you understand yourself, the more you understand the way the world works around you, the better suited you're all going to be to go towards that goal, to understand it. If you're not present enough, then you won't see the opportunities. You won't see the things line up. You won't see alignment. You won't see how great things can actually be if you just open your eyes to look. And I was talking about it on my stream literally last night, but there's just one Alan Watts quote that I really resonate with, that kind of the most profound thing I've ever thought about. When asked it was something like the question of the meaning of life. And I think he either struck a gong or he just let it be silent. Because I feel like constantly we're looking for an answer. We're looking for an end. But there is no end or answer. You are in some ways the answer. It's reflected in your actions. Who are you? Pay attention. Because you're already here. You're already somebody. And, it's one thing to think, I want to craft myself. I want to build myself up. And, I don't really necessarily think it's a building of self. I think it's a renovation of self. A realization of self. The more you become aware, the more you become present, the more you can see the parts of yourself that seek out change. And the more you can see the parts of yourself that seek out change, the more you can change them. The more you can alter them, the more that you can put the necessary focus and attention into them to actually become a better person. Becoming a better person isn't just saying I want to be a good person, because that's, oh, I want to be a good person. I want to be this. I want to be great. It's constantly separating yourself. I want to be this. I feel like in some ways it's constantly separating yourself from that thing. Or I want to be famous. I want to be a millionaire. Implying that you currently aren't that thing. Implying that you currently have a separation from it. And, as realistic as that is, I don't think it's beneficial. You want to be this, you want to be these. These are goals, and I feel like our goals aren't necessarily set up wrong. It's not saying that you can't and you shouldn't be like, oh, I want to be something. But you should acknowledge that you already are. Every artist is an artist before they get acknowledged as one. Every writer has written before they are acknowledged as a writer. Every rapper rapped before they were acknowledged as a rapper. And it's about self-acknowledgement that allows somebody to truly hone into a craft, hone into an idea. If you're constantly waiting on the world's validation in order to be who you are, then you probably won't ever be who you are. Because who you are it exists without, other people's validation. It has to exist solely with your own. Not to say that other people's validation isn't necessary. Not to say it's not important. Not to say, it's not a good thing. But if you can't give life to yourself, then any life given to you is void. It doesn't matter. If you're constantly living in darkness, light, people can try to shine their light on you. You can think it's there for a second. But as soon as they're away, you'll realize you're still stuck in that darkness. Still stuck in that shadow. You have to, in some ways, make the light come from you for yourself. Illuminate yourself with your own light. Be the person in your life that sort of supports you in your ideas and goals. It makes them realistic. Not realistic in the sense that, oh, I don't think that can actually happen. Oh, I don't think that's achievable. But realistic in the sense that I think that's achievable. I think I could do it. It's happening right now. No longer having that separation between yourself and your goals and realizing that they're already here. Everything that you want, everything that you are, and everything that you want to be is already within you right now. Who we are in a real sense is just our external reaction to the external world. How you allow yourself to think is how things are. You have to sort of be there for yourself enough to realize that, everything's already here. Everything's already here. And you kind of have to just let life take its course. Be present enough to see the signs. Be present enough to understand. If you're constantly living in your past, you might get better at understanding who you were, but you get worse and worse at understanding who you are. I feel like the thing we constantly reference, the thing we constantly, think about, it becomes ingrained into who we are. And if you think about the past, you're constantly going to repeat it. If you think about the future, in some ways, I think it can be beneficial to think for a second about where you want to go. But where you want to go is not necessarily crafted just by that. If you have no destination, of course it's unwise. But living in that destination rather than living in the journey to get there, there's a good chance that you won't. You won't notice the path. You won't notice the signs you need in order to get to the place you want to be. Getting to your goal and being successful isn't about, just the realization of a worthy ideal, but working towards it with positivity and with the love and understanding that what you are trying to achieve and what you want is something that you already have. You have to constantly think of things as sort of a game. You don't lack anything. I think that the whole idea that we have parts of ourselves that we lack, that we this, that we that we, it makes it real. You don't lack anything. Everything out here is truly for us to gain. And that's not to say in a greed sense, not to say in a materialistic sense, but to say in a holistic sense. In a lot of ways, we're a reflection of everything around us. The world is exactly as we think it to be, or the way we see it, the way we are in the world is exactly as we think it to be. Of course, there's negativity in the world that's beyond the scope of most people's imagination. But in regards to the self, in regards to that which is within our control, we have to be more careful with our words, more careful with our thoughts, and most importantly, more careful with our actions. I feel like most of the past and most of what people think about is the actions they've taken. And most of the time it's because they weren't present enough to make the right choice. Present enough to say, oh, well, how am I going to feel about this? And da da da. And that's not to say, constantly be focused on how your stuff is going to affect you in the future. But make the choices that you want to make and make sure they have you in mind. Don't make choices without yourself in them. Like, if you're going to do something and get into something, make sure you're thinking about how it's going to make you feel. And then after you make that choice, forget there was ever a choice. Forget that you ever had an option. Live solely in the present. That's what I think the most important thing is, because there is no such thing as should have or could have. All that exists is what you do and what you have done. You can think about the past. Oh, what if I did this? There's no point though. Why not focus your energy on something you can actually alter, something you can actually change, and something you influence? And that thing that I think we can influence is here and right now. You don't have to know where you're going to love where you are. It's about appreciation of the present, appreciation of where you are, and that's going to get you to where you want to be. Because the more you appreciate the present, the more you appreciate this space, the more you realize that there's more to gain. The more you realize that, your dreams aren't just dreams. They can be reality. The more you're present, the more you realize how much of yourself you can put into this world and how much of this is actually attainable. Let me sit down and think about it. What can I do? What can I do? And you find a little avenue. You start small. You start wherever you can. And you invest yourself into that something and understand yourself through it. And through doing that, through doing these little bits and pieces of life, I feel like you learn about yourself and you learn how to do things important to your character. Like, for example, I learned how to edit videos from back when I used to make gaming videos with my friend, Yano36. He makes videos called on a channel called The Visual Verse, if you want to check that out. But, you pick up little skills along the way that kind of help you. And I feel like most importantly in those things that, when you first do them, you don't really understand their significance or understand how it's going to contribute to your life. But it's because you weren't thinking about it. It's because you were present enough to be there. And that's not to say that you can't find stuff like that not being present and focus on your future. Because I feel like to some extent, everyone's present, when it comes down to it. And there are times of stress and in great times of change and trauma, I feel like we're forced to be present. Oh, I really got to lock into my work. I got an exam tomorrow. Like, oh, now I'm really in here. Now I'm really locked into my work. I'm really present with it because that's all I can do. And that's when you can learn best. We do it in our times of stress. We do it in our times of need because that's when we can actually control something. That's when we can actually alter the world that's unfolding before us. So why not take the time to be present at pretty much all times, whenever, to exhibit that control over our life so as we please. I feel like that's sort of what love is. Being present enough to understand. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I got more streams on the way. Outdoor videos on the way. Probably not this week, to be honest with you. To be honest. I'm probably going to stream tomorrow. And yes, I'm probably going to stream tomorrow. with that being said, I hope everyone's gonna have a great day. Keep being good, keep being great. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're realizing that, you know, focus on what you can control. If it's not in your hands, it shouldn't be in your mind. And take care. Thank you. If this helped you, I'm very appreciative because I know it helped me. Oh, and